Exodus chapter 38, verse 1 through 20. He made the altar a burnt offering of acacia wood. 5 cubits was its length, and 5 cubits its breadth. It was square, and 3 cubits was its height. He made horns for it on its 4 corners. Its horns were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with bronze. And he made all the utensils of the altar, the pots, the shovels, the basins, the forks, and the fire pans. He made all its utensils of bronze. And he made for the altar a grating, a network of bronze, under its ledge, extending halfway down. He cast 4 rings on the 4 corners of the bronze grating as holders for the poles. He made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. And he put the poles through the rings on the sides of the altar to carry it with them. He made it hollow with boards. He made the basin of bronze and its stand of bronze from the mirrors of the ministering woman who ministered in the entrance of the tent of meeting. And he made the court. For the south side, the hangings of the court were of fine twined linen, 100 cubits. Their 20 pillars and their 20 bases were of bronze, but the hooks of the pillars and their fillets were of silver. And for the north side there was hangings of 100 cubits. Their 20 pillars and their 20 bases were of bronze, but the hooks of the pillars and their fillets were of silver. And for the west side were hangings of 50 cubits, their 10 pillars and their 10 bases. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets were of silver. And for the front to the east, 50 cubits. The hangings for one side of the gate were 15 cubits, and their 3 pillars and 3 bases. And so for the other side. On both sides of the gate of the court were hangings of 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 bases. All the hangings around the court were of fine twined linen, and the bases for the pillars were of bronze, but the hooks of the pillars and their fillets were of silver. The overlaying of their capitals was also of silver, and all the pillars of the court were filleted with silver. And the screen for the gate of the court was embroidered with needlework in blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twined linen. It was 20 cubits long and 5 cubits high in its breadth, corresponding to the hangings of the court. And their pillars were 4 in number. Their 4 bases were of bronze, their hooks of silver, and the overlaying of their capitals and their fillets of silver. And all the pegs for the tabernacle and for the court all around were of bronze. Today's passage shows the making of the altar and all the utensils for the sacrifice, and the framing of the court. The altar was set up in the court area of the sanctuary for the purpose of giving burnt offering unto the Lord. Before the priests were to enter the sanctuary, it was necessary to offer sacrifice to atone for their sins, and once the sacrifice was made, the priests were declared holy. Because the sanctuary was to be kept holy on a daily basis, it was to be separate and set apart. The pillars, the bases, the gate, and the pegs were utilized for such purpose, and it allowed the priests to remain holy before the Lord as they were set apart from the world. Jesus is our atoning sacrifice. We have been cleansed from our sins through Christ, and we're now declared holy. That is why it is important to remain holy by placing pillars, bases, and gates to set oneself apart for the sake of remaining holy before the Lord. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 11 through 15 says, "For no one can lay a foundation other than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. Now, if anyone builds on the foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each one's work will become manifest, for the day will disclose it, because it will be revealed by fire, and the fire will test what sort of work each one has done. If the work that anyone has built on the foundation survives, he will receive a reward. If anyone's work is burnt up, he will suffer loss, though he himself will be saved, but only as through fire." How sturdy we build up our foundation upon Christ will determine the reward we receive before the Lord. As we meditate on the necessity to remain set apart, let us strive to remain holy by building upon Christ with work that will be everlasting, with pillars that God will reward us for on the day of the Lord.